as we all know, success does not come with a script. You get to write your own. So today we're diving into a conversation about visibility, credibility, and the power of media with someone who spent over 25 years behind the scenes of some of the biggest news networks. My guest today is Jen Oliva, a media relations pro and former network producer who's worked with outlets like The Today Show, NBC News, Fox Business, and Bloomerang, covering everything from breaking news to interviews with world leaders. Now, as the founder and CEO of her own media company, she helps entrepreneurs and thought leaders land national press and position themselves as the go-to experts in their industry. But here's the thing, which I think we'll talk about through here. So many big business owners think they're not big enough for PR or that media coverage is out of reach. And Jen is going to pull back the curtain for us on what actually makes a story worth covering, how to position yourself, and the biggest mistakes we see people making today. So whether or not you're a business owner looking for more visibility or just curious about what really goes into shaping the narratives we see in them, this is an episode you don't want to miss. So Jen, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I cannot wait to talk with you about all the things.
Oh, thanks, Haley. Thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
Wonderful. All right, we're going to dive right in. You have had such an incredible career in media. Like I had mentioned in the intro, that you've produced for outlets like The Today Show and NBC News. What first drew you to that really fast-paced world of news? Did you always see yourself in that field? Tell me your story.
So I've always been a news hound. I've always loved the news. I like to be informed and I like to know what's going on. It's in my blood. And once it gets in your blood, it is very hard. Ask any journalist. It is very hard to turn it off. It is very hard to step back and not do it and not be informed. But I also think it's important for, especially in today's world, that we're all informed and about what's happening in the world around us and what's going on. And so that we can, the more informed we are, which is the press's job, it's in fact their entire job, the better we are as a democracy and as a country and just as people who care and want to be in. And yeah, so I love news clearly. And I got into it. I worked my way up the old-fashioned way. I started with an internship at the local Fox affiliate in New York, Channel 5. I started just like back then we used tape instead of digital and started doing everything from running tapes to what's called ripping scripts on set and handing the scripts to the anchors who were reading them. And then I just started to volunteer for things. Like I would volunteer to help producers who needed help. I would volunteer to go out and try to field produce, learn how to field produce on the weekends. And that's really was the start of everything for me.
That's so cool. So you've spent your career doing all of this, working your way up and really shaping the narratives and getting these big stories in front of national audiences. What made you take the leap to start your own company?
So the short answer to that is COVID happened. I think that COVID obviously had such an impact on our world. But one of the things, unintentional impact, I think, was that people began to see that the rat race and the commuting, if you want to say like if any silver lining could have come from a tragedy like that, that we got to see that there was maybe a different way to structure our work life and the importance of spending time with family when you can and trying to find a little bit more balance in your life. So that was really the catalyst for me. They had sent us, I was working for a network at the time. They had sent us home for about a year and a half. So I produced from home for about a year and a half, which is crazy to think about producing live shots and television like from my dining room table. Technology is an amazing thing. And what I found during that time was that I had time to have a better work-life balance. I had time to see my kids. I had time to run to the dentist appointment twice a year, but I still had time to do it. Like there,
Right? Exactly.
so it was stuff like that. I basically got a peek, like behind the curtain of what life could be like and what was more important in life. And about 3 years ago, I went off on my own and launched my own company. And I decided that I would use all of the years of experience and behind the scenes knowledge I had, as well as contacts, but it's not even really the contacts. It's really the fact that we look at it differently coming from news to help clients then get on the news. I used to be the one doing the interviews with guests. I used to be the one looking for that perfect soundbite. And it got to the point where you'd be doing an interview and you would hear it and you knew it. The minute you heard the soundbite come out of the person's mouth, you knew there it is. That's the one I needed. That's first. So it really trained me to be on the other side of it, which is something I never even imagined. It's all happened really organically, but it's been an incredible ride and I'm loving every minute of it.
I love that. And I think it's likely the story for so many. I know it is for me too. COVID really helped me understand there is more than just going into a 9 to 5. We can do the things that make us happy, that allow us to live the lifestyle we want to live. With 4 little boys, I
Yeah.
always joke that I think I would be fired by now if I still had a regular job, because the amount of times I would have had to call in sick or leave early or all the things. And this type of business just gives me the freedom to be able to not show up every single day if I can't, or pick up a sick kiddo from school, even when they're not actually really sick. They just want to hang out with mom.
Which is nice. Hold on to those times too.
That's right. Exactly. I know it's okay. Be present in the moment. I'm working on that. But it's such that silver lining. So, what was the transition like? Was there a moment when you knew it was like, okay, this is time, I'm building something on my own? Did you slowly transition? What was that like for you?
So I did it both ways, both abruptly and slowly. I abruptly left my full-time job, network job. I just said, this is not, when they called us all back 5 days a week. And I went to them and at the time and asked for a hybrid situation. And their answer was no, that we're not, it's a company, that's not what we're offering. And I said, okay, I hear you, but that doesn't work anymore for me. That's not gonna work for my life anymore. So I abruptly left and I freelanced for a long time. I freelanced for a couple of years on the side while I built up a business. Started by working all week, and then on the weekends I would work on my business. And then it became working a certain amount of days and a certain amount of days freelancing, and then building it up like that, so that I didn't want to put the cart before the horse. I didn't want to, when I first started, I didn't even have a website. Like I didn't, it wasn't planned. I had helped a friend, I was freelancing and I had helped a friend get a placement, and they recommended me to another friend who wanted to pay me for it and asked me, like, where can I find you? What's your website? And I was like, oh, I better make a website. It happened like that. So I really think it happened so organically, and I built it so organically that, and then I got to a point where I was working 7 days a week for my business, and there was no time to keep doing freelancing anymore. And that's when I made so it's both. It was abrupt and it was slow at the same time.
I love that. It's never a really conventional way of doing things, right? I think on the other spectrum, maybe put the cart before the horse, but then I figured it out. I figured it out the hard way. For me, it was, okay, I know I want to do this and I'm just going to do it. Sometimes I don't think through decisions as much as I should. But I worked through it. It all works out in the end.
Yeah, it all works out in the end. I think it's also, everything is trial and error, right? Like you try things and it's all figuring out as you go. Like I am absolutely still making changes as we go and as we grow this business. For, like I said, the first 2 years, it was just me. And now I have a team behind me. So there's been incredible growth, and we've had tremendous success with media placements and with getting our clients the exposure that they're looking for, more so than most the big firms that you hear about. And I think it's really because of where we came from. I think it's because we came from the other side of it. So we know exactly what they need. And so we're able to give it to them. And I think that, but that doesn't mean that it's not a continuous learning experience. But I think if you stop learning, you stop growing. So it's worth it. And you keep trying and trial and error to see what works, what doesn't work. You turn it around, you shift it around, you try different things, and you hopefully just keep getting better as you go.
100%. I think that's so important to continue learning. And even for me in messaging, I'm still continuing to learn new things about messaging and copy and how to not only make my stuff better,
Mhm.
but to help my clients, to benefit my clients, because I want to keep getting better and better results for them.
Yeah.
And that takes me continuing to show up and to learn and to know what the market is doing, to know what's happening, especially as things are changing so rapidly with AI and all the things going on. I think learning is incredibly important. I want to go back to what you said about having a team and building a team. How do you think that's changed things for you or allowed you to do more, to serve more? Because I think sometimes growing a big team is great for people. Sometimes it's having that small but mighty team. But it's all just, again, figuring it out. But I'd love to hear how that's shaped where you're at now.
Yeah, I think it is a balance. I think it is something that you build as you go, right? You're not going to start with a big team unless you have some huge endowment to start your business, in which case, good for you. But most people are not going to start with that. And you also, as the owner, have to know how to do everything in it. So if you don't, you need to be the jack of all trades in the beginning and know everything. And then you can start bringing people on. And when you start bringing people on, then I think is when the expansion happens and in all ways, and the magic kind of happens, because then you start to be able to focus more of your time on your zone of genius and what you really excel at. And then you have the support of other people who you trust and who you know their work with what they're best at, right? You can't, I always say this to my clients that like, you can't be an expert in everything.
Yes.
Then you're an expert in nothing. But it's the same with a business. Like I did everything for the business, but I'm not an accountant. I don't know. That's not my thing. I was figuring out invoicing. I was doing it the way I could do it when I needed to in the beginning. But as I grew, I hired a business accountant. As I grew, I brought on a COO to help me with the organization. And all those things make you so much stronger. So to me, I think a team really is about building each other up. And it helps it helps you to grow, it helps your business to grow. And if you're hopefully doing it right, and it is like a lot of work and back and forth and and figuring out what works best in different ways. But I think if you have the right intention behind it and the desire to make a place that is where everybody is respected, where everybody feels valued, then I think you have the opportunity to make like a really special place.
That's amazing. And I think it even makes it better for your clients too, right? They start getting better results because you're able to really focus on what you can do for them. And it's just delegating the things that are not your zone of genius so that you can focus on what really is going to drive the business forward and get your clients better result. So I love that. But okay, so I love what you're doing. I see all the amazing, we're
Aw,
connected
thank
in
you.
circles, and the people that you are getting placement for. It's the good stories we want to see in the news. There's so much negative happening that you're helping to put good people on the news for
Yeah.
doing good things. And I think that is really amazing. So,
Oh, thank you.
what do you feel getting these big stories in front of these national audiences, the good stories? How do you make the message compelling for people so that the producers see it, they want to pick it up. It's not just all the crazy, weird, bad, negative things happening in the world.
I would say, first of all, in part in doing this, when I started doing this, it was that I wanted also to make sure I was working with good people, right? On my team, yes, but as my clients as well. And people who were doing some incredible things and were really experts in their field. So that's what we focus on. We don't have one sort of vertical that we do. It's not all healthcare, it's not all fitness, it's not all AI, it's all of those things. But the things that they have in common are they're all experts in their field. They're all really driven and driven from a good place. And they all have information that is important to share. And that's, I think, the heart of it. I forgot what your question was, but I think that how we get it out there, I believe, was the question.
Yes. Like, how do you make it compelling enough so they're like, yes, we want you. I'm going to open this.
So that is the $1 million question.
Yes.
That is the secret sauce, really. What I can tell you is that it's about sharing information that could be useful to the viewers, readers, listeners. It's not just about let's say you have a company and you put out a press release because you had a new hire. Like, not for nothing, but nobody cares about that except maybe the new hire's mom and their best friend, the person they'll have to report to. That is not going to get you coverage. You need to be giving something as well. It's a symbiotic relationship. You are not just on there to push your product, your company, your thoughts. You are there to share information. So if you're going at it from that point of view, you're going to have success. And I believe that's why we've had such incredible success that we have.
I love that. So many people, I know some of people that I've served or talked to, I feel like maybe they're not ready or not big enough for media or PR. Do you feel that's a myth, or how would you answer that question? What do you typically say when people have feelings or imposter syndrome?
So I would break it down a little. First, some people, like in their journey and what they're doing and in building whatever it is, they're building their company or their expertise. Some people are not ready for PR. And that what that means is that before you go out to try to get media attention on you for whatever it is you're doing, you better be very clear on it. You need to know exactly what it is you are offering. You need to be very clear on your expertise. You need to be very clear on your product, whatever it is. It needs to be right. You need to have your website up and looking beautiful. You need to have everything in place. Yeah, in fact, some people are not ready yet for PR, but that's okay because it would do them a disservice. And we don't take on those people. So I've had people come to me and we have meetings and we will talk, and I will not accept somebody who's not ready, who is not at that point. I'm happy to give them tips. I'm happy to teach them. We have some courses where we teach them, but I do not take on anyone as a client who is not ready for it, because you don't want to open that can of worms. If you open yourself up to the exposure, it is just what it sounds like. You are presenting yourself as the expert. And if you are not buttoned up and you don't have your stuff together, and then it is not a good look for anybody. So I would recommend that people work on themselves, their expertise, their company, whatever it is. And once they are ready, then they go look for PR.
I love that. I think that's really important. And I was just actually sharing that with my group yesterday. And you're the right fit person that you want. They're the ones that are going to get the best results. They're the ones that are going to rave your name, referral. They're the ones showing up. And so I think it's really important that you're able to say, you're not a right fit, because they're not going to get the results they want either. And some people aren't ready, and that's okay. We're not all ready right away for this big media press. It doesn't mean you have to wait years and years, but like you said, that you're the expert in what you do. You have information to share. When do you, I guess maybe that's a follow-up question, somebody ready?
Let me first say that I don't want to discourage people from learning about PR and understanding the benefits of it, because the benefits of it are huge and can do so much. When I say they're not ready for PR, what I mean is they're not ready for a full-time publicist. They're not ready to hire an agency. But if they're interested in PR, or they want to learn some of the skills or some of the things they can put into practice, they can do things like sign up for one of our classes where we teach you. It's like a 101, basically PR 101, so that people can learn how to do it themselves, how to hone their message, how to figure out their angles. And so that prepares them. And that's a way for them to get a taste of PR without them having to be ready to jump into the whole thing. And your second question was?
I just said, when are they ready then for an agency for those bigger news? Because I think it maybe is important too. If you have local things that you're doing or magazines or things like that can get your feet wet as a start. And maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're right. Those are always good to start with, the local ones, right? And so in answer to your question, when are you ready? You're ready when you are very clear on who you are, on your expertise, on your brand, and what you're bringing to the table. You have a very defined, whether it is product or expertise, and you have everything to back it up, including the credentials, website, the customers that are happy, the great product, right? Once you have all of those things, you're ready for PR. And I think that at that point, you want to, let me figure out the best way to say this. I think at that point, you want to jump in and start to work with somebody to build your media resume, right? And the way you do that, and the way we do that, is we start with some locals for you. We start with some local TV interviews, some local print or digital press. And then you build up, because everyone wants to be on Good Morning America, right? That's like the goal. But not everyone's ready for it. And your first media interview is not going to be with Good Morning America, because for a bunch of reasons, but one of the things is that there is no media resume for you yet. There is if the producers from there Google you, there is nothing to show how you are on camera. There's nothing to show your credentials, that you can answer questions. There are no sort of backup. It's like a resume. You need to have the experience, right? So what we do is help them get that experience and build it. It's like a runway. And that way down the line, and sometimes we get national really quickly for them, but generally we try to build them up at a pace that they're comfortable with, and media train them so that they're comfortable on camera, and give them all the tools that they need so that they're successful. And then once you start to get some successful local TV hits, then you can move on and we broaden it out a little more. So that's how it works.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. I think too, because I love all things like messaging and storytelling. Clearly, that's a big part of what you do too, I'm assuming, is helping them tell their story, because I feel like that's really hard. How much is too much? What do we need to share in order to make it impactful? I think there's so much into that. How do you break it down for your people?
So we start with the branding side of it. We start with looking at what makes them unique. What makes them special? What exactly are they the experts on? What can they speak about? What can they focus on? And we help them tease that out for themselves. And then we have something we can move forward with for them and for us to move forward with, so that we can start to promote them. Because if they're not clear on who they are, then we're not going to be clear in who they are. And if we're not clear on who they are, then the viewers, editors, producers, and writers are not going to be clear. So that is really the first step in the whole process.
And then do you work with them when it comes to sharing their story and really becoming clear on that message too? So that where they're like, don't go on and then just, oh my gosh, what did I say?
Yes, we work with them. We do a deep dive to really, with my team members and the new clients, to really find out what it is that makes them tick. We ask them sort of the questions, we follow up, we get into real discussions and help boil it down or tease it out. And then we tell them and give them tips on how to communicate that. That's another part of it. It's not, PR is so much more than just a press release. PR is all of these things. It's making sure that you're authentic. It's making sure that your branding is right. It is making sure that your messaging is right. It's making sure that when you get those opportunities to get the exposure you want, that you have your sound bites and your quotes ready to go so that you can share that information in a way that's digestible and interesting to the viewers or listeners. If you sit them down and you're interviewed and you go on and talk for 30 seconds straight and the interviewer can't get a question in and go down like 3 different rabbit holes and use jargon that they don't understand, you've lost them, right? And then you've lost your opportunity. So it's very important that you learn how, and that's part of what we help them with. We help them fine tune their messaging and get their sort of bullet points and sound bites perfected so that they can get their message out there when we get them the opportunity to do it.
I think that's so important. Going back to what you said, like not using all the industry jargon, making those complex topics
Yeah.
simple. And I stress that all the time with my clients. They have to be able to understand you in their words and the way they talk about the problems that they have and the solutions that they want, making sure it's really simple, easy, and giving them a reason to care. And I'm sure that's what you're helping teach them is just making it so that people want to listen. They want to stay engaged. They want to come to you for more because that's what all the press is about, not only making you the expert, but to bring people to you.
Yes, 100%. We try to tell them, number one, you want to be relatable, right? You want to be an expert in your subject and show your expertise, but you want to be relatable and understandable so that you are sharing the information in ways and nuggets that they can take in. Because if it goes over their head, it's not useful for anybody. You want to be engaging them. And the way to do that is to do it and share your information in a way that they can understand. And that's a huge part of it.
Definitely. And I like what you said too, and being relatable, that helps you connect on that emotional level when you're telling your story because we're emotional, we're humans, we're making decisions based on our emotion, not just based on logic. So driving that emotion through their story is really important, especially if they are showing up live on TV. People can feel that, they can see the energy. And so I think that plays a part in it as well. Would you agree with that?
Oh, completely. Being authentic and your authentic self and really coming from the place of your experience is what resonates with people. And that's how you make the connection. And when you're doing media, whether it is TV or digital or print or podcasts, you are making connections with these people, right? It's all about, like you said, we're all humans. It's all a human connection. So you're making a connection and you're sharing information, right? So I think that we are all human and we all go through life's ups and downs, right? And we all have different things that come up that are trials or tribulations or things that we maybe could use help with or things. And so that's part of the, when I talk about the information that I want my clients to share with their audiences, that's part of it. Let's give them something that will make their life better. Let's give them some useful information that they can take away. And then they have learned something there. It didn't have to feel like a class. It didn't have to feel like anything. It could be simple, easy, but they went on that podcast and they informed all those listeners something that they maybe didn't know about or a way to do something. And it's so providing answers, it's providing information to the audience. And I think that's really what it's all about. It's not about getting your product out there or getting you screen time, or it's not about that. It's about sharing the information you have with the audience.
Definitely, because then I think those other things like your product and all of that, that comes naturally then. And people can connect with you when they get to know you, when they understand, and when they see the value in what you're providing, then it can come naturally.
Yeah.
And of course, it's not always a straight linear line to get there. There's lots of ups and downs, and we're always continuously learning. But the more that we connect with others, and especially now, connection is so important. It's a
Yeah.
huge reason of why I'm doing this podcast, because not only do I want to connect with more people, but I want to share conversations. I want to share that inspiration, because success looks different for everyone. And the ways we get there is different for everyone. It doesn't always just mean making $1 million in your business. That's when I'll be successful. Someone else the other day was like, if I have integrity and if I show up and do these 3 things every day, I know I am successful. So looking back for you, has your definition of success evolved over time? What do you feel success is?
My definition of success has completely evolved over time. And I'm glad. What I thought was success back in my 20s and 30s is completely different than and when I was working at a network, my definition of success versus now when I have my own company is very different. For me, my definition of success is being able to do what I want, feel excited about it, good about it, and be able to be making a difference on my own terms. I think that's what it all comes down to, that it's on my terms now. Like the amount of hours I put in, the amount of work I do, it's far and beyond probably what I was doing as a producer, but it's for me, it's for my family and my team and my clients. And I'm able to do things like, I want to go see my son's football game. I will take the time out to go see my sons, because to me, that's success, being able to carve out the time that you need for this. And the other time when you are working, to be able to feel really good about it, good about what you're doing, and to feel like you are doing some good in the world at the same time.
Definitely. Success also changes after becoming a mom, right? Our world looks completely different. The things that we prioritize are different. And that was a huge thing for me coming into starting my own business too. I want to be able to go to those things, to spend time with my kids, even though sometimes we have too much together time and it's okay, I need a break. But I look back and I am so thankful and so grateful for that. And I think it's just important. It looks different for everyone. And you get to
Follow
define it.
your own. I think it's important too, to know what it looks like for you. And that should be your goal, not anybody else's measure of success. I think that's the most important point. Make sure it's your measure of success that you are striving for.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Jen, for coming on
Oh,
here today. I really appreciate all the stuff that you've given us and our listeners today. And I know you mentioned a couple of things. You have your online course where you're teaching those entrepreneurs.
yeah.
You have your agency where you're actually going out and doing it all for them. So how can people find you? I'll have it all linked in the show notes below this, but just share more. Where can we find you? Take the next steps, get seen, all the things.
Yes, I would love to meet you all. So come on down. You can find me at jenolivamedia.com. You can send me an email, jen@jenolivamedia.com, on Instagram. And you can just reach out. I would love to talk. We have, like you mentioned, Haley, we have the class where we teach entrepreneurs and business owners and authors how to do it yourself PR. And we're starting that in March. That goes for 6 months, like an interactive sort of class over Zoom. So it's easy to fit into your schedule. You can find me on my website and reach out, and I'm happy to send you a link for that. We also have, our business. If you have a company or you are an expert and you are looking for help with a publicist reach out. I'd love to talk.
Amazing. And just an extra plug again, I know we've been in the same circle, but to see all the amazing things that you're doing for your client is just incredible. So if anyone is listening and wants that, go to jenoliva.com, and Jen is so personable. So thank you again for sharing, Jen. I loved having you on here, and just enjoy the rest of your day. Go be successful.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.